So here our first question. What are the differences between list and tuple? This is the most frequent question asked in interview. So the first difference is list is mutable whereas tuple is immutable. Let's see how. First of all, I'll make a list with the name list1 and will take name of fruits. Similarly, I'll take tuple also with the name tup1 and here I'll copy. List is represented with square brackets whereas tuple is represented with the help of round brackets. So if I need to access list, I can simply write, let's say, third element of list. So I need to print this. Similarly, I want third element of tuple. So when I run this, so here it is accessing both of them, whether it is from list or tuple. So here I can say they both can reference data. Now I want to make change in list. Now what I'll do, I'll make some changes in the list. On second index, I want pen. Now when I print this list, is it taking it? Let's find it out. Yes, here it made a change. That's why list is said to be mutable. Now the same thing I'll do in tuple. I want in tuple on second index pencil. So when I print this tuple, it gives me error that tuple object does not support item assignment. So it is said to be immutable, where you cannot modify. Here we can't update, though we can create new tuple with the help of existing one. Now what I'll do, I'll make a new tuple, let's say with the name tup2 and will have one element in it, just a pencil. And in tup3, which is also a tuple, I will do tup1 plus tup2. So when I print tup3, which is tuple, so let's see. Yes, here it will join both of the tuple and will have a new tuple created with the help of existing tup1 and tup2. That's why in tuple, it's not allowed to modify in place, whereas in list, we can modify in place. That is the basic difference. So first difference is mutable, where you can modify, whereas in tuple, it is a immutable, where you cannot modify. Instead, you can create a new tuple. Second difference, list is represented with the help of square bracket, tuple is represented with the help of parenthesis. Third difference is tuple is fast as compared to list. Let's see this also with example. Here I have imported time IT and with the help of time IT, I took a list where I have 1 million number. Same I took for tuple from 1 to 12 and they are running for 1 million times. With the time IT, we can be able to note the time for both of them. So when I run this, see, for list, it is giving 0.091, whereas for tuple, its timing is 0.0137. So list is about 8 to 9 times. That's why we say tuple generates as well as iterate also fast. Also, tuple can be a dictionary keys. As here I have tuple within dictionary where tuple is acting as dictionary keys. Similarly, I took for list also. Whether list can also be used as a dictionary key? Let's find out. For tuple, it's working fine. Whereas for list, it says unhashable type. List can never be used as a dictionary key. That's why tuple is more preferred as it is fast in operation. It can be used as a dictionary key, set as dictionary, and set are immutable in nature. Second, write a generator function to generate Fibonacci series. Coming to Fibonacci, I have created a video. If you want to know the concept in detail using recursion iteration, you can visit my video. Generator are simple functions which returns iterable set of items. So it can generate as many values as it wants, yielding each one in its own turn. So we should know what is Fibonacci. Fibonacci is something where I have one value as 0 and 1. And then we need to compute for third value, which will be sum of last two values, which is 0 plus 1, 1. Then for fourth value, the sum of last two values, which is 1 and 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So here we will start making function df, and the name will be resembling fib underscore gen. Fib stands for Fibonacci and gen stands for generator. And here we will take two values. First, a is equal to 0 and b is equal to 1. So here I have a is equal to 0 and b is equal to 1. So I need to compute for its sum. 0 plus 1 is 2. And then similarly I need to go on. So for this I will apply a loop while, let's keep it true. And here I will take a third variable c is equal to a. So what I am doing, I am taking a third variable in which I am allotting the value of a, which is 0. Then whatever the value of b will be allotted to a. As a's value has been given to c, so a will be having the value of b now. B's value is 1, and then we will have the sum of these two so as to get 1. Sorry, it was 1. 0 plus 1 will be 1. So here c plus a, and the value of c plus a will be given to b. As in the last step, we have given b's value to a. And then as it is a generator function, instead of writing return, we will use yield c. Now let's call this function. Here I will make an object using this function fib underscore gen, and here I will print the value of this c. So for printing in generator we use next of f. So let's run the program and see whether it is running well or not. Yes, here we got the first value 0. Now for the next value I will print one more time next. Here I got 0 and 1. Only one next will be enough. And here I want in the same line with a space. So let's run it. See, here I got 20 values of Fibonacci. Third is how to reverse a list in Python. So for reversing a list, we can answer in 4 ways. First, reverse built-in function, slicing, and this will be reversed, which is also a built-in function. And the fourth one will be using conventional method, that is without using any built-in function. So let's start and we'll understand 4 of them one by one. So let's take a list with the name list1, and I'll take the random numbers 4, 7, 9, 2. And here I'll use reverse function and will print list1. Now let's run the program And here I got the last value first, then 9, then 7, then 4. So reverse function reverses the list in place. That is, it is not taking any extra memory. It modifies the original list only. As the original list was 4792, I have modified using reverse function, and when I printed the list 1, it will give the output in reversed form. Now let's go with second strategy. For that I will comment this slicing. So for slicing, I'll take the same list 1, and here I'll take list 2 equal to list 1 colon colon minus 1. First start value, then colon, then the end value, and then the step value. So whenever we are not giving start and end value, it takes all the values which are in the list. And here we have defined minus 1 in the step. That means start from the last value to the first. So when I print this list 2, let's run the program. Here I got the reversed form of list 1. Now you can see the difference between first and second. Here it is taking up the memory, as we are taking a new variable where it is storing up. In the last, it was not taking any memory as it was in place. So here it doesn't touch the original one, whereas the last method will modify the original list. Now comes the third method, which is reversed. Let's comment this. Here I will take a variable list and a function reversed of list 1. Here also it returns in the list 3, and we will print list 3. So when I run this, I got iterator, list reverse iterator. That means it returns the reversed iterator as given over here. Now, so as to get the elements, I need to typecast into list. When I run this, I got the elements reversed form of list 1. So here also it doesn't modify the original list and creates a new list where it will store up the reversed form of list. Now if our interviewer says that without using any built-in function, reverse a list. So how to do that? Let's delete this, and here we will apply a for loop for I in range, where it should iterate from the last element. So here I'll take len of list 1 minus 1, then it should go in a reversed way up till 4. So here I'll write minus 1 and the step will be minus 1. And I need to make a new list. So list 2, which will be empty. And this list 2 will append list 1 of I. And then we want the new list, which is the reversed form of list 1, to be printed. So when I run this, I got all the elements of list 1 in a reversed form. So here it is taking the memory as I made a new list for storing up the reversed form of list 1. Now the fourth one is write a program to get current system date and time. For current date and time, I need to go first to Python mode, and the first thing which I need to do, import date time. Now so as to know current time, I'll be using now method. So date time dot date time dot now. When I press enter, it will give first year, then month, then date, and then timing. Here we can see it's not clearly visible. So as to make this more in a represented way, we'll be using strf time method. So for that, what I'll do, I'll save this in a variable today, and here I'll be calling strf time. Here I need to give the way I want date and time to be represented. So I want year, then month, then date, and I also want hour, minute, and then second. Let's write it in more colon way, as time is to be represented with colon, and this is a string part. So I will put apostrophe here and then braces close, enter, and here I got year, then month, and then date. Similarly, the time over here. So this is how we can represent current date time. Now the fifth question is, write a program to find email ID is valid or not. Here we have been given an email address which we need to verify in Python that it is valid or not. Let's understand this. Here I have solved this problem with the help of regex. For that I need to import RE. RE stands for regex. Then first of all I need to find out whether length of email is greater than 7. As here netsetos@gmail.com is more than 7 length. Then we need to write regex, which I have written over here. I'll explain this also. Here we need to give an input argument, the email which we will give here. Then I have given to ignore case. Uppercase letters, this program will accept for lowercase also with the help of ignore case. So let's run the program. Here for netsetos@gmail.com it says valid email address. Now the heart of this program is this regex. Let's understand this. So for this I'll go to regexr.com, which I always say to prefer this site for regex kind of thing. Now I have taken a couple of email address, and here I want to match these email addresses. These are valid email address, and one email address I have taken which is not valid. First of all, I want these letters to be matched, which contain letters, numbers, this 99, underscore, dot, and plus. A square bracket in which I'll write A to Z, and with this I have clicked on case insensitive. That means I'm writing for uppercase. In insensitive it will take automatically for lowercase also. Then the numbers 0 to 9. So you can see it has matched all the alphabets and the numbers. Now I want to match this dot, underscore, which is not matching. So here I'll write dot, underscore, plus, minus. If it is there in email address, it will match it. They can be one or more than one. So here I'll write plus for matching one or more than one. Then we have at the rate. Up till at the rate it is matching well. Now I want Gmail, OWL, TCS, more to be matched. So here I'll put A to Z, and with this if I have any numbers to be matched, so 0 to 9. And these can be one or more than one, as it is matching for just G. So here I'll apply plus, or if there is any number it will match it. Now here I need to match this dot, so I'll apply dot to it. Then again I have com, in, org, so I'll make A to Z, and if you see here it is more than 2. After dot, it's mandatory to have 2 letters. I'll write specifically here more than 2 to be more precise. Here I'll give dot as well. Now it is matching all the valid email address. So this is our regex. If you want to understand regex in detail, I have made a complete playlist for it, which you can find by going to playlist, and here in regex you can have regex with Python, where I have made this in detail. If you want to understand regex completely, go for it. I will completely recommend it. And also I have made complete tutorial where you will find all the videos of playlist in just one video. So now I have pasted that regex here. For more precise, I have used this neget and dollar. Sixth one is, what are anonymous function or lambda function?
Anonymous function, that is function without name. These functions are also known as lambda function. First, there will be a function name, then a keyword lambda, then we have arguments and a statement which we have to apply like x minus y, and the result of this will be stored here as output. Let's understand this with example. So let's write a simple function for addition. So I'll write def add, and I'll take 2 variables for it, a, b, and then colon, and then I'll return a plus b. And then I need to call print add, say here 4, 5. So when I run here, I'll get the result 9, as we have already done. So instead of defining this function, I have to use a lambda function over here. So here I'll start with add, as I have defined a function name with add. So here with lambda expression, I'll say add is equal to, which is our function name, then lambda. Then I need to give variables, which is a, b, and output will be a plus b. So when I print this, I'll get the same 9. So here, unlike REST function where we used to write def keyword at the start of the function, here we will use keyword lambda. This was multi-line code, and here with one line code we will perform. Let's see more examples. Now I have to print twice of a number. So here I'll write twice my function name, and with lambda I'll take x colon x into 2, which is stored in twice, and here it will give twice of our number. So when I print this, let's say what it will print for type twice. I'll get class function, as this twice represents a function name. Now if I give twice of 5, I need to delete this type. I'll get 10.
Next one is, what is OS module? OS module stands for operating system. And the interesting thing is, OS module provides various functions for interacting with operating system. So let's go to CMD. So for going into OS things, I need to write Python, and here first I need to import os.name, so as to know the name of my OS dependent module, which is imported over here. So when I press enter, it will give NT. NT is the OS name for Windows. If the same thing I have applied in Ubuntu, it will return POSIX, the current directory. So for that I can write directly os.get CWD. CWD stands for current working directory, and here it will return the current directory of mine where I have opened this CMD. Now I want to change my directory. So for that I can use os.ch dir. Ch for change. And we'll put over here to the location where I want to change. And when I check over here, current working directory, it will give C directory as it has changed its mode. Now I want to make a directory. I'll go to the same place and here I'll write os.make directory, make for mkdir with the name new. Now let's check it whether this directory has been made or not. Here I am on projects and a new directory has been made. Now I want to remove this directory. So for that I will write os.rmdir and the name of my new directory. The new folder will be removed. Now I want a folder within folder. So for that I can simply write os.makedirs, make directories, and here I want to give new/new2. You can see a new directory over here, and when I click on this there is another new directory with new2. Now I want to know all the directories which have been used in this particular folder. So I can simply write os.listdir, list directories. So when I press enter to it, it will give me all the folders which I used over here. Let's check it out. And if I want to clear my current screen, I can write over here clear is equal to lambda : os.system in braces CLS for clear screen. So when I write over here clear, it will clear the screen of command prompt. Now I want to know all the directories which are used in OS. So I can write dir os. Let's say I want to know whether this particular directory exists or not. So I can simply write over here os.path exist, whether C directory exists or not. So here it will return in Boolean true or false. So whenever you are asked about OS module, you can tell all the functions which are used with respect to OS. 8th question is, write a program to read a file with multiple lines as well as split data by lines, also split into words. So here we need to write a program for this task. So here we have 3 operations to do. First, read a file. Second, split data by lines. And the third one is to split into words. Let's do it step by step. And this question is commonly asked in interviews, so as to test our file operations and the terminology. So for this, I have a file over here, a text file with the name netset.os. So what I'll do, I'll copy this address and we'll start writing a variable fp is equal to open. First I need to open a file, and here with apostrophe I'll paste the location where my file is. Then I'm supposed to read it, as the question says, to read a file, and we'll save this in a variable data. So let's see, when I print data, it is asking for the name of the file, which is netset.os.txt. So let's run it. Here it will read all the data from the text file. The second step is to split into lines. So for splitting the text into lines, I need to use the keyword split, which will be data.split, as it is per lines. So here I'll use, this is used for next lines, and will give a variable lines. So what I'll do, I'll take this and will print over here with lines. Let's see. So here split always returns in the form of list, and wherever it is going for the next line, it will print one line at a time, then comma, then the next line. Now if I want in different line, so I need to iterate this for line in lines, print line. So this will be clearly visible, all the lines in a single row. Now the third point is to split into words. So what I'll do, I will split with respect to space and will give a variable to it, words, and will print words. Let's check it out. Here we have used split term, so it is returning in the form of list, and wherever it will find space, it will treat it a different word. Now if I want these words in different line, so I will iterate. Let's say I will keep for word in words and will print word over here. But first of all, as I am using FP, I am supposed to close this file, and this is we are supposed to do in the start so that we will never forget it. So when I run this, I got every word in a different line. So this is how you can perform file operation. Ninth, how can we merge one dictionary with other dictionary? For merging one dictionary with other dictionary, we'll be using two ways. First will be update method, and the second will be expression double star. Let's see their usage. So I'll go to PyCharm and we'll make a new file for it, and we'll keep merge dict, where I'll be making two dictionaries, dict1. Let's keep the name of fruits, one for apple, banana, and we'll make a second dictionary, 3 orange for let's say pomegranate. Now I want to merge these both dictionaries. So the first method is update. Here the dictionary in which I want to store the values, I'll write first dict1 dot update dict2 and will print dict1. Let's run it, and here I got all the keys and values of both dictionaries in dict1. So all the keys and values of dict1 and dict2 are merged into one dictionary. Whereas if I print dict2, let's run it, it will be same as it is. So update method never returns anything. It simply merges into one. Now comes the second method, double star. Double star is a single expression where it makes a third dictionary where it merges two of them. Let's see. I'll comment this and we'll put dict3 with dictionary sign and double star for dict1 and double star for dict2. Let's print dict3 and I will run it. Here I got all the keys and values of both dictionaries into a third dictionary. So it doesn't affect two of them and returns a value into a third. 10th and the last, remove duplicates from list. Let's see how to do this.
We will remove duplicates by using 5 methods. Using set function. I have taken an example ARR and I will start ARR2 is equal to set of ARR. And when we print ARR2, so when I run the program, in the output we got the set function which have non-duplicated values. And if I want in list, I can typecast list and let's run the program. The same we got in list form. Now I'll comment this and we'll go to second strategy using array, for which first I'll make an empty array with array3 is equal to empty array. Then we will iterate array for I in ARR, and then we will append in ARR3. ARR3 dot append I. We need to print our ARR3. With this, all values will get appended to ARR3, which is an empty array. But here I want to remove duplicates. So I'll give an if condition. If I not in ARR3. Let's run the program. And here we got an array with no duplicate value. Now let's remove duplicate value using lambda function. So for this I need a function name. I'll take remove duplicate underscore func, where we need to give lambda arguments. I'll take ARR and here I'll take set with ARR. If you remembered, I made a video on lambda in our Python series, which is at 38 or 39, where you can learn lambda function in detail. Now proceeding towards our function, where lambda arguments need to be defined and then expressions need to be given, which we need to implement on array. So with this, we will print remove duplicate function and then ARR. Now let's run the function, and here we got all non-duplicated values. Now let's proceed further. In fourth method, we will remove duplicates from dictionary. First of all, I'll define the dictionary with dict1, and here I'll take car with Ford, Toyota, and then we will make its duplicate over here. So I'll copy paste, and then we will take brand. Here let's take Mustang, and then Rance. Let's duplicate these as well. I'll put comma over here. And first of all, I'll take a empty dictionary. Now we need to iterate this dict1. So I'll take for key and value in dict1 dot items, where dict2 should have first key equal to set of values, and then we will print our dict2. We have taken the values in the set form. That means whatever values will be there, it will remove duplicate by using set function. Now let's run the program, and here we got car as Ford and Toyota. All duplicates have been removed, and with brand we got the single values Mustang and Rance. Now let's see with other strategy using symmetric difference, where I'll define two sets, set 1, 1, 2, 4 and 5, and the other set 2 is equal to 2, 1, 5, 7. So here with the help of symmetric difference, we can be able to remove all duplicate elements. If we can see in set 1, we have 1, 2, 4, 5. On the other hand, set 2 has 2, 1, 5, 7. So if we can see 1, 2 and 5 are duplicate values.
So with this symmetric difference, we will get 5 and 7 as they have not occurred more than once.
Now let's implement this. I'll write remove dup underscore elements, LE for elements, and here set1 dot symmetric difference. As you can see, this is our inbuilt function, and here I'll give set2. Then we need to print this variable. Let's run the program, and here we got 4 and 7. Sorry,
here 1, 2, 4, 5, where 1, 2 and 5 has been repeated. 4 and 7 are the one which have occurred only once.
So this is how you can remove duplicates by array, list, set, dictionary using symmetric difference and lambda functions.